don't apply or don't look for jobs where there's a lot of competition in your specific country.
What type of jobs are likely to disappear, do you think?
Writing, content, being a writer or being an expert in something.
Which skills do you think are becoming more valuable, not less valuable, in an AI-driven economy?
Computer skills for sure.
Especially like social skills kind of becoming more important with this age of AI and tech, you know what I mean?
The only skill set that you need is to be flexible.
Welcome back to EssayPro podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of jobs in a global economy. Today, we're met with Soumya. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do?
Thank you for having me on this show. My name is Soumya. I'm a policy researcher. I'm based in India. I work for a Indian think tank on foreign policy, and I'm just completing my PhD broadly on sustainable development. So yeah, more or less that's what I do, and have been doing for quite some years now.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds fancy.
Yeah,
Fancy
Okay.
the word.
it kind of
Fancy's the
sounds,
word.
but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and most of my work also involves writing for a lot of publications and newspapers, and yeah,
Mhm.
I do that, and I also travel the world as a byproduct of that. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, I love to travel. Where have you been recently with your work?
Last month was actually crazy. Last month I was in Thailand, then I was in Laos, then I was in Kenya, then I was in Russia.
Oh, you went to
that's
like
dope.
all the continents.
Yeah. All of them fell together in a month, and I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Oh my
Oh, man.
gosh.
I can imagine that jet lag. The jet lag's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay,
Truly.
we're gonna get into a couple of questions here. You ready for this?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, beautiful. From your global economics perspective, how do you see AI and automation reshaping the job market for young graduates?
Very basic but very broad question. Definitely,
Mhm.
it is going to reshape in a big way. There are no two ways about it. But I'm also
Mhm.
skeptical about the fact that we tend to look at AI as an unknown devil, like we did when there were computers or when there is any new tech. So it is going to change the job market radically, not only in terms of volume, but also the kind of jobs that are going to emerge and the kind of jobs that are going to go. But from my point of view, I think there is no reason to be super scared or thinking that something's major going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen, but I think like all technological upgrades that we have had over the decades, there is quite some time and opportunity for you to also be more flexible and be aligned towards the new kind of opportunities that come out of it. So yeah, it's more or less that it's gonna change, but just no fear about the change is all that I'm trying to say.
Okay, that actually kind of leads into our second question, which is what type of jobs are likely to disappear, do you think? And then, like you were saying with the new opportunities, what kind of opportunities do you think might emerge in their place?
So, for example, with AI, when we talk about jobs, say for example, that's going to completely differ sector to sector. So, if I kind of look at, say, for students, which is most important, say writing, content, being a writer or being an expert in something, those are the kind of jobs which I feel before AI we could have kind of different. People of different skill sets being occupying the crowding the same kind of space, not only in social sciences, be it at other places, but with the advent of AI, the demand for high quality products. By products, I not only mean like tangible products, but also knowledge products, contents, reports. The demand for such high quality stuff will be much higher. So when I look at the new kind of opportunities that are going to open up, it's going to be having whichever field that you are in, the expertise in that field is going to be more demanding, leading it to be more challenging. So the thing is that opportunities wise, I wouldn't say they're like specific new jobs. It will, I would mean it the way that there would be a realignment of jobs, like things that you're expected to do in like 10 hours, you'll be expected to do them in a much shorter period of time. Just very similar to the transition, say, from typewriters to computers and so on. The only difference I see with this age, and in terms of technological progress, is the fact that the rate at which technology is growing is changing. It's higher now. So the amount of years that a computer would take to come in full force and to be fully used, it is much lesser for AI, and it's going to be lesser as we move on to the next decades. For jobs that are going to disappear and will not be relevant anymore, of course, there are many and many, ranging from, say, content specialist in, say, CSR fields, to say something as simple as, say, AI in a DJ set. So those are the things that students should be more skeptical about, and think of it from a perspective that could be replaced from AI. But all in all, I would just say that, be even more brilliant and beautiful in your field, and you can use AI as a assistant rather than a replacer.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like there's a lot of things kind of emerging right now that are kind of, I guess, seemingly scary, but you got to learn how to integrate it. Like, especially with like film stuff. Have you seen those next gen AI kind of videos that came out recently?
Yeah, I
They're
did, and I
crazy.
actually brutalist, and yeah, I'll tell you a story after you're done about that with AI. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I don't know, like commercial actors might be in, they got to adjust something. I don't know, because those
Yeah,
videos,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, especially for that space, can be, for example, especially for arts, music,
Hmm.
culture.
Yeah.
That is a very, very specific case for AI. But I am also did not speak about it largely because it does not come into the mainstream jobs if you just go by the numbers. But
Hmm.
say, for example, I was watching The Brutalist. I absolutely loved the movie. I loved Adrian Brody's
Great.
performance. Then I was a little bit disappointed to know that his Jewish accent was enabled by AI. So the
Oh,
accent that
wow.
the Jewish accent that he was using in the movie, which is all fine and great and works totally for me, but it also makes you question, right? That for artists, painters, how do you judge the artistry of a
Right.
person? How that person is
Yeah.
able to
Take
create a
that
certain
Oscar
voice,
away.
a certain painting. So when you are suddenly told that, okay, this
Yeah.
is AI enabled, then your judgment metrics in your head is kind of shaken. That how do I assess
Yeah.
this? So I get it.
Yeah.
That is kind of a problem, and if you look at it in depth, it is it is something that we need to think of.
Hmm. Yeah. Along the lines of that, like maybe artists or for everybody kind of working in the future, how do you think that students can future proof their careers in a world where technology evolves so quickly? Like what methods can they do to ensure that their jobs aren't taken away, you know?
Short answer to that, you can't.
Okay.
That is that is because the only skill set that you need is to be flexible. It's not like you're doing something, say, doing a research by yourself, and you find out that the literature review of the research could be done with the help of certain software, which gives you, say, legit information. So if you have that kind of impediment, that, oh, I don't want to move something new, or something like that, then you will lose out in the longer run. So I wouldn't advise to kind of stay away from new tech, thinking that it's going to, you're basically fueling new kinds of disruptive technology, but rather be more flexible and integrate yourself with new tech, so that whenever there is a new tech coming in, whatever existing job you are in, you can
Right.
future proof that job itself,
Mm.
rather than not letting tech enter your sector at all. That is not how it is going to work, I believe. going further.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it historically also, that is not how it has worked. You always have outliers and sectors which become completely redundant, but that's a very, very small section if you look at the global job market. More so, technology is supposed to be integrated in your existing fields, and have an assistive purpose rather than a replacement purpose.
That makes sense. Well, then with that, which skills do you think are becoming more valuable, not less valuable in an AI-driven economy?
Computer skills, for sure. Like, for example, I have seen this from my experience. There is a major problem with the social sciences field in general, that there are a lot of schools now have that option where you can opt for social sciences, get rid of math and computer from a very, very young age. While that is important, helps you focus on the things that you're interested in, but I think some kinds of computer skills and knowledge is kind of very, very required until you leave reach until your entire coursework or your entire say graduation. I believe that is not only because you're learning some specific skills, but you're also becoming more comfortable, with the interfaces, with how you are going to approach new tech, which is the main barrier in terms of new tech adoption. The main barrier in terms of new tech adoption is mostly not the particular software or the particular, say, web feature that you're using. It more so your comfort level with the interfaces and the computers. So I think that is something that is going to be very important and should be integrated in all other subjects, in a very strong way. Say, for example, I believe like in the next decade you should have like physics with inbuilt computerized way of learning physics, or say a computer specific way of running your chemistry experiments, the things that we wouldn't have say like a decade back. But I see that coming and that being very important in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of skills that are, especially like social skills, kind of becoming more important with this age of AI and tech. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are kind of introverted behind the computers, but learning how to kind of come out of that and be authentic, I think will kind of build that. I think that's going to be currency in the future. You know? So along the
Yeah,
sides of
but
that, along the yeah,
yeah, sorry, please go on.
no, no, I was going to say like along the lines of that. Do you believe that soft skills like adaptability and critical thinking are now just as important as technical skills?
Mm,
They are. I mean, what you just mentioned is kind of a double-edged sword. Now that we are discussing AI so in depth, it's also important that we all discuss the challenges that come with it. So I
mhm,
do feel that there is a high risk of erosion of soft skills because of AI and tech. That is also because, say, for example, if I have to find out about something, say, be it research, be it related to my work, be it, say, sustainable development. For example, I'll try to meet somebody at a conference, I'll try to reach out to somebody over email or LinkedIn, try to have a phone conversation, get new ideas. But now, given your deadlines have become crisp shorter, and the fact that, you have so much of availability, and then, you kind of tend to talk only to your computer.
mhm.
And this is going to grow with a technological upgrade. So I think we are quite at a risk of losing out on that balance where soft skills, where it needs to, original thinking and soft skill needs to have more importance. But again, the kind of new tech we are having, it's kind of moving it in the other direction as well. So that's something we need to acknowledge, and we need to be conscious about in our daily lives, in our daily interactions, with or without relating to work.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I agree.
Well, then how would you say students should approach learning? Like, should they specialize in something or should they keep their skills very broad because of AI?
It's see, I mean, again, my answer may sound a little boring, but again, a mix of both. So,
Mm,
in the sense that yeah, in today's age and world, you have to be broad based when you're starting off your career. So, I would suggest that when you're like you're an undergrad or a postgrad, looking into enter the job market, then you keep yourself broad based and not be chasing that, oh, I'm losing out on years or age and things like that, which is also a very very specific developing country syndrome. You don't tend to take gap years, and you don't tend to do that in the, in the interest of your livelihood opportunities and etc. But it is very important that you're broad based now, and you don't get very focused at the beginning years of your career, because then you're making your position quite risky to be replaced, not only by tech, by other people, by other skill sets, by other any kind of basically the replacement becomes kind of more easier. But as you as you progress, it is important that you develop and you deep dive from the horizontal way of looking at things. It is because only when you become an expert in a certain domain, it is only then that you can leverage technology more optimally, rather you would be able to do when you're more broad based. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like, I'm happy to give this with an example. Say for example, let me talk about somebody who's, say, very interested in, say, environment or sustainable development, or the environmental aspect of sustainable development. So you start off, say, your training or your coursework, or say research on say sustainable development as a whole, not specifically look at, say, climate or something very specific related to gender. But as you have a broad based idea of the interlinkages, it is easier for you to choose a particular niche and then get more focused on it, and then become an expert with the help of tech. So it's more like a process than than two options at the same point in time, I would say.
That makes sense.
Like
Makes
specializing. I see. I
Yeah.
see. Along the lines of that, in terms of like, everything we've talked about so far, what sectors or industries do you see as being the most promising for the next decade? Like whether that's
Yeah.
like AI coding or like prompting, something like that. What do you see as coming up in the next decade?
Yeah, but firstly, I'd see, before saying what's very promising and coming up in the next decade, I'd see some a particular sector which is quite at a risk until we move on to different kind of platforms, is the media. Say print, journalism, writing on very relevant topics, that is at a major risk, not only in terms of job replacement, but also in terms of infiltration of information that is coming out of so much of tech that is evolving around us. Now, having said that, again, the sectors, coming to your specific question, that the sectors that will be booming is of course how you will be, computer skills with navigation, information of how you're using a certain software for a certain sector. Say for example, coding, the one that you've spoken about. Coding will be very important when I'm trying to make a software, or say make a certain kind of a process or an SOP for an organization. Again, coding will not be relevant if I, say, want to be a novelist or a copy editor or a copywriter, and those kind of fields where you do need AI, but in a different skill set of AI. So, I would say that sectors, it is difficult to say that, okay, this particular job is going to boom because of AI. I mean, because if you think of it as computers, so computers never boomed as a sector, right? You started using computers in all the sectors that needed it. So, with the advent of AI, I'd say that there will be some sectors that could capitalize more on AI, some sectors that could capitalize less on AI. But I would see it, perforating through all sectors. And for you to develop a certain expertise beforehand, and then moving on to using tech and AI to upgrade your skill set, is would be kind of a resilient way as of now, I believe.
Okay, I agree. Cool.
So then what role does sustainability play in shaping the future, like job markets and industries?
uh, can you be a little bit more clear with this question, like a little, can you expand this question?
Um, so I know like basically like kind of what we've been talking about, but in terms of like the sustainability, of how we're, shaping the job market and the industries. I feel like we lose out on technology or water with AI, with how much water AI uses. And like how do you think that's gonna like play into the future of these job markets?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting question. Now I get it, but I also feel that we kind of have a reductionist approach towards sustainability. We tend to look at sustainability as environmental sustainability only.
Right.
We look at water, climate, and other kind of stuff. But sustainability is integrally three pillars, which is human capital, physical capital, and environmental capital. And
Mm,
of course, so for human capital, so you would look at objectives relating to water, gender, skills, etc. For environmental aspect, you look at climate, life underwater, life on land, etc. Physical capital will be economic growth, livelihoods, and etc. Needless to say, all these sectors of sustainability are very intrinsically linked to each other. And of
mhm,
course, AI does have a large impact maybe on the environmental pillar of sustainability.
right.
It does in
Mhm,
the short term, but then it also has a large boost for the human capital aspect of sustainability.
mhm,
There are some sectors in the human capital which are negatively impacted by AI or tech progress, while some are positively. So, all in all, the focus should be that you keep the net sum to a positive rather than completely,
mhm,
how do I say, doing away with something completely, because
right.
that's not how this nexus of sustainability works.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
So,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, in your opinion, how do you think students in developing economies can compete globally in an increasingly digital workplace?
I totally understand, and this is a very specific problem of the global south, or the developing economies as we call them. But through my research in the last few years, I've been looking at global migration for work, and I do realize that it is becoming a very important symbol of diplomacy as well, rather on a very macro scale than just looking at like specific job markets and people moving. But the major problem with job markets globally right now is that we tend to look at job markets as numbers. That, say, for example, India has a huge labor excess, but on the other hand, Japan has a very strong labor deficit. So we are
Mhm,
essentially looking at workers and employees as number. But the thinking has to change a bit now, because again, with so much of technology in everything, it is not the number of people, it is the complete holistic way of looking at labor as a mixture of skill and number. So with the skills changing so rapidly, especially the tech skills changing so rapidly, we need to look at global migration and global workforce, especially for the global south workers moving to the global north, not just as numbers, which we are well established, but a great combination of numbers and required skills, so that you're essentially trying to make the labor markets more efficient. You're trying to match the demand for a certain skill and a certain set of people and a mix of people having those skills with a supply for a certain skill, which makes the labor market movements and the labor movements more efficient, and not just driven by very base level requirements.
I see.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, when we
Okay.
talk about like, global working, what would you say
Yeah,
your view is on remote work? Like,
yeah.
do you think that will remain normal? And then, if so, how can students take advantage of that?
Yeah. So my views on on remote work is more or less very similar to my views on AI. Like, all is cool and everything is nice as long as it is convenient for you. But
Mm,
even I speak a lot about this to my interns and my students, in the sense that if you know how to do your research on paper on a computer, have the power of critical thinking, then
mm,
AI is a great enabler for you to make your processes more streamlined and organized. But if you have
mm,
never trained in that, and then you start off by using AI to give you ideas, then it's a problem. Same as remote work. So if you have been luckily a part of that generation where you know what is it to go to work,
Mhm.
figure out work from your colleagues, um, know what networking is, all those things, then it is a good option for you to explore other ways of work, which could be, you could be a digital nomad, you can work remotely, but a healthy mix of all of that, which helps your intellect, your skill set grow in general. But
Mhm.
for students starting off right away with remote work and not never knowing what a workplace is, it sounds kind of sad to me, because
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's essential, but I just think that it kind of impedes your critical thinking, and the way your world outlook is important from diversity of experiences. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's what my view is regarding the balance between remote work and in-person work.
Experience is important, you got to go out, you got to meet people, you got to shake real hands.
Exactly.
I totally get
Only,
that.
only then you'll know how to take digital hands. If you don't know handshaking is a thing, how will you know that you have to do that digitally?
That's
Exactly. They
true.
got emojis for that. You just click the little
Yeah,
emoji. Do they have it on here?
yeah,
No, I don't know if they have it on here. They probably do.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We don't have it.
digital handshake.
Yeah.
um, in your opinion, for people who are non-tech majors, how important is digital literacy for these people in today's economy?
Yeah. So for people, I would segregate people into two parts. One is like a normal populace, like citizens doing their job, living in city, and for
Mhm.
people, for students. If I include students and people who are under training programs, it is absolutely important, because still have a chance you're part of a institution that could give you structured education on digital literacy. And needless to say, from all our discussions prior to this, you need to have a certain level of digital literacy in today's world, whether you use it or not, but you should be known to be someone who will be able to use it if it is required. For the
Right.
normal citizens, it depends on the digital penetration of your country. Say for example, India, for example, is very much into digital public infrastructure right now. Most of the very essential transaction, like in many other parts of the world, be it social security, be it pension, be it application for normal stuff, is all online now. So
Mhm.
it is not only becomes a it is not only necess it is it becomes very necessary for you to live a certain life, not only get a certain job, but live a
Mhm.
certain life in countries that are making rapid progress towards digitalization. So I mean, it is important for both the kind of classifications I made to the population, but they're important in different aspects and with different intensities, I believe.
What economic trends do you think students should pay attention to as they plan their career paths?
Yeah, so the major economic trends that stood, if you have to go by statistics, you
Mhm.
just look at the countries which are very have a young working age population, uh, and the kind of sectors that they are moving towards. If you broadly try to look at sectors, say for example, I'd say semiconductors. If you notice and look at countries with very young populace, you see that the semiconductor industry is quite booming as opposed to many traditional industries. So your sector identification should be based on kind of your age cohort, whether you're starting off, whether you're mid career, or whether you're senior career, and you try to locate demographics across the world and the kind of sectors that are progressing to. But if you look at specifically at students and the economic sectors that they could move into, I believe that now there's a lot of opportunities online, and one good thing that came out of the pandemic is the fact that sectors that new evolving sectors that you're interested in, you can completely reach out to a CEO or a co-founder digitally
Right.
and set up a
Mhm.
thing. This was not the norm, say
Right.
before 2019. You'd like to meet
Mhm.
over a coffee or over meeting. So
Right.
no, so just broadly have a look out, and look at the sectors that are at the intersection of your interest area, plus is will be required and booming, and not just very extreme on the either end, then you tend to lose stability in your career.
We already kind of know how important internships are in terms of like securing jobs after education. But how important would you say freelance work is in helping bridge the gap between education and employment?
I mean, internships most definitely, because that's where it's kind of like a practical experience of meeting
Mm-hmm.
people and getting your work done. Freelancing, most definitely, I would say that freelancing has become like a big thing now, and it's really something that I encourage all the young people to approach. Is also because it gives you a certain sort of training on employer employee relationships and how you navigate them before you are sprung into that huge job market globally. So I honestly do think that it is an important area that all students must explore. But if you can afford it, don't get swayed away by the money these freelancing assignments give you, because I do know they pay a lot sometimes. And you tend to love the money right then, and so should you. But but then you tend to get then you tend to lose focus on becoming an expert onto something. So
Right.
if you can balance it out well, it's good for you. It's more like short term gains and long term gains. But I'm never that person who would be like, don't do this or don't do that, do everything. But
Mm.
just keep on balancing out in your head like a rap song all the time, just
Mhm. Keep the vision and focus. What you really
Yeah,
want.
yeah,
don't get lost in the sauce, is what they say.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, well then, do you think there are any common misconceptions that students have about the global job market?
I mean, students, I mean, the conceptions will be founded once they get into the job market, because prior to that, all the conceptions you get from your peers and from movies and TV. So I one thing that I really feel as I'm working with a lot of younger folks and students nowadays is a kind of lack of responsibility, which I think students right now should work on, because these are certain aspects that gets you noticed in your job. The major common misconception that I believe the students tend to have nowadays is that is very assignment and very objectively focused on assignments, which is
Mm,
great. But so long you are able to take a more responsible or a leadership position in whatever assignments you do, that is the
mm,
thing that gives you an extra edge if you want to progress in your career that way. And if you don't want to be a leader and you're happy with what you are doing in terms of assignment, that's also fair.
mm.
So you choose wisely depending
Right.
on your ambitions and your skill set.
Very helpful advice. Very, very helpful. Um, Along the lines of advice, I got just one more question for you. You ready for it? You ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Finally, finally, if you could offer one piece of advice to a student graduating in 2025,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Firstly, I've been advising a lot. I think in the last 10 to 15 minutes makes me feel like a good grandpa. But
Yeah.
I kind of love this question as well. I would say that for students graduating currently 2025, 2026, just be very, very careful about the kind of sector that you're going into in the geography. By this, what I mean is that, say for example, don't apply or don't look for jobs where there's a lot of competition in your specific country. Say for example, engineering, say
Okay.
for India.
Mm,
Or say, I'm not saying that you don't delve into those fields if you have a real interest, but
mm,
if you have to look at it more objectively, try to look for sectors which are a little less competitive with respect to the kind of geography that you're applying for. That helps you give like a higher edge, yeah, in terms of the pace at which you can progress in your career. But needless to say, that doesn't mean I'm saying that, oh, you don't take up a job where there is competition. That's not what I mean. It's
Right.
just, a small tip in locating the kind of niche that you're looking for.
Mhm.
No, that's great. I'll be sure to tell all the actors in LA, give them this advice. Go to New York too, tell them that. That's very good. Thank you. I think that does it for us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I hope some of it was useful.
All of
But
it.
yeah, I love the informality in the conversation, because that is the way you can speak a lot more. You can speak your heart out. So that's it was very useful for me as well.
Yay.
Oh,
Thank you so
cool.
much, Shoma.